Shared sleep paralysis. I never believed in ghosts, demons, or any of that paranormal garbage. I always figured sleep paralysis was just a quirk of the brain, some neurological hiccup between sleep and waking. But what happened to me last autumn destroyed everything I thought I understood about reality. It began on a Monday night. October. Chilly. The kind of air that bites at your fingers and turns breath into fog. I live alone, have for over 5 years, and I'm used to silence. But that night, something felt off. The shadows were heavier, like they had weight. The light bulbs buzzed louder than usual. The hum of the refrigerator seemed to carry voices. Faint whispers, as if the appliance were struggling to speak. I went to bed around midnight, as always. Scrolled through my phone, set the alarm for 7, and shut my eyes. Sleep came fast, too fast. I remember dreaming about a hallway. Endless. Flickering lights. My footsteps made no sound. And at the end of that corridor, I saw her. A woman. Pale. Bone-thin. Her hair was wet, clinging to her cheeks like seaweed. She wore a hospital gown, the back torn open. Her eyes were wrong, not just vacant, but hungry. She stared at me like she knew me. Like I belonged to her. When I turned to run, the hallway stretched longer, pulling me backward like a rubber band. That's when I woke up, or at least, I thought I did. My eyes were open. I could see the ceiling, the fan, the crack in the plaster shaped like a lightning bolt. But I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. My body was a tomb. And in the corner of the room, she stood. Not a dream. Not a hallucination. The woman from the hallway. She was in my room. I couldn't turn my head, but I saw her clearly. Backlit by the street lamp outside, she looked damp. As if she had just crawled out of a lake. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then, she climbed onto my bed. Every part of me screamed, but nothing came out. Her knees pressed into the mattress, slow and deliberate. She leaned down, her face inches from mine. I could smell rot, like drowned flesh and mildew. And then she whispered. Just one word. Finally. The world snapped back like a slingshot. I could move again. I sat up, drenched in sweat, gasping like I'd just surfaced from a deep dive. She was gone. My room was silent. But I knew, it wasn't a dream. I didn't sleep for the next 3 nights. Coffee became my religion. By Friday, my nerves were frayed like old wire. I kept the lights on, TV buzzing static just to drown out the silence. And then, my phone rang. It was Noah, my friend from college. We hadn't talked in months. I answered on the 3rd ring, my voice dry and hoarse. Before I could say hello, he spoke. Hey, has anything weird been happening to you at night? My blood ran cold. Noah, I said slowly, what do you mean? There was silence on the other end, just his breathing. Then, I think I saw something. A woman. In my room. I couldn't move. And she said, finally. I nearly dropped the phone. It wasn't just me. Somehow, someone else had seen her too. That was the beginning of the unraveling. And I swear to you, this was just the start. The call with Noah shattered what little peace I had left. We met up the next morning at a diner on the edge of town, both of us looking like we hadn't slept in weeks. He was pale, jittery, eyes bloodshot. I must have looked the same, dead men wearing skin suits. We sat in a booth in the far corner, where no one could hear us. I told him everything. The hallway. The woman. The paralysis. Her voice. His face twisted when I mentioned her whispering, finally. He dropped his coffee cup. It shattered on the floor, steaming liquid running across the tiles like blood. Same, he muttered. She said the same thing. Like she's been waiting, watching. That's when we decided to look online, to see if anyone else had experienced something similar. We found hundreds of stories. Sleep paralysis entities, shadow people, night hags. But only a handful of them mentioned the word finally. And even fewer described the woman with wet hair and a torn hospital gown. Still, it was enough to feel like we weren't crazy. We kept digging. Forums, dark web threads, encrypted blogs. Most led nowhere, just stories. Until we stumbled onto a user called Obscura Soul on a closed Reddit thread, archived from over 3 years ago. He wrote, "She comes to those who've touched the veil. The ones who've seen the hallway. She's real. It's not just in your mind. If she whispers to you, run. If she touches you, it's too late. The only way to stop her is to find the others. Connect. Dream together. Only then can you fight back. Dream together?" It sounded ridiculous. But at that point, logic was a luxury we couldn't afford. We posted on a few obscure forums, details only people who had seen her would know. Within 2 days, we got responses from 4 others. All said the same things. Sleep paralysis. The hallway. The woman. The whisper. One of them, Ava, was a lucid dreamer. She claimed she had trained herself to control dreams since she was a teenager. "If we're all dreaming of the same place," she wrote, "we can enter it together. I've done shared lucid dreaming with my sister before. It's real. Hard, but real." And so we formed a plan. We met on a Zoom call. Noah. Ava. A guy named Marcus, who worked night shifts and looked like he hadn't had a decent sleep since grade school. Then there was Lila, quiet, soft-spoken, but with eyes that looked like they'd seen war. We each followed Ava's method: dream triggers, mental anchors, sensory training. She said it might take a few nights before we could stabilize. But on the 3rd night, it worked. I found myself back in the hallway. But this time, I wasn't alone. Noah appeared beside me, flickering like a ghost on bad reception. Then Ava, solid as stone. Marcus next. Then Lila. We stood together, under flickering lights, in the corridor that stretched endlessly in both directions. Cold, sterile walls. A low hum vibrating in our bones. She was waiting. At the far end, the woman stood, still as a corpse. But when she saw us, her head tilted in that unnatural, insect-like way. Then she screamed. Not a sound, no, this was worse. A pressure, like the world imploding inward. Our ears rang. Ava grabbed my hand. "Don't run," she said. "We have to face her. She's only strong when we're alone." But fear is a funny thing. It doesn't listen to reason. Marcus turned to bolt, and in a blink, she was on him, a blur of wet hair and broken limbs. He vanished into the floor, yanked down like he'd never been there at all. Lila screamed. Noah froze. Ava pulled me forward. We hold ground. If she touches you when we're together, she loses power. So we stood. 3 of us now. She circled, snarling silently. Each step she took seemed to dim the light around us. But she wouldn't come closer. Not yet. That's when Ava spoke to her. "We know who you are." The woman froze. For a moment, her shape seemed to flicker, like a weak signal struggling to maintain form. "You died in a sleep study, didn't you?" Ava continued. "At Greystone Psychiatric. 1983. I didn't know how she knew that, but the name rang like a cursed bell. Greystone. I'd heard of it. Abandoned now. Shut down after a patient burned herself alive during a lucid nightmare experiment. The woman let out a shriek, her body spasming, limbs bending in wrong directions. "We're not afraid of you," I said, surprising myself. But it was a lie. We were terrified. The world around us trembled. The hallway cracked. Ava whispered, "She's losing her grip. If we wake now, we weaken her." So we each focused on our triggers, our way out. Mine was the ticking clock in my bedroom. I listened. Listened hard. Tick, tick. Darkness. I woke up choking, heart pounding, body drenched. I ran to my phone. Messages were pouring in. "Noah, she's pissed. Ava, we broke the loop. Lila. Marcus is gone." Not waking up. The real nightmare had just begun. Marcus never woke up. His sister called Noah the next day. Said he was found in bed, eyes wide open, mouth stretched in a silent scream. No signs of trauma. No cause of death. The coroner labeled it sudden nocturnal arrest. But we knew better. The woman, she, had taken him. We were running out of time. Ava insisted we had to go to Greystone. The name alone was enough to make the room colder, like saying it summoned the very thing we were trying to escape. But she was right. If this entity, this woman, had a source, that was it. Where it all started. Greystone Psychiatric Hospital, abandoned for over 30 years. Buried in legal fog and urban legends. It sat crumbling in the woods 2 hours north of where I lived, past rusted fences and fog-choked roads. We drove there on a moonless night, me, Noah, Ava, and Lila. Armed with flashlights, sleeping bags, and a half-baked plan that sounded more like a death wish than a solution. The building was a cathedral of rot. Brick bones, shattered windows, vines choking the walls like veins. Graffiti covered everything, devil symbols, children's names, desperate messages like, "Don't close your eyes." We broke in through a side door, stepping over broken glass and crushed tiles. Inside, it smelled like mold and forgotten screams. The cold was unnatural. The air felt wrong, as if it didn't belong to this world anymore. Ava led us to the sub-basement. She had done her research, dug up blueprints, patient files, even footage from old VHS tapes leaked online. She showed us a file printed on wrinkled paper, Patient 112, Eliza M. Graves. Admitted for chronic parasomnia. Subject of experimental lucid dreaming trials. Eliza. That was her name. According to Ava, Eliza was the first recorded patient to report shared dreaming. She described a hallway. A woman, herself, but drowned. Her records ended the same day she died in a fire, one she supposedly started herself during a psychotic break. But the truth was different. We found the therapy chamber deep below the hospital, behind rusted doors sealed with chains. Inside, a cot, a thick leather strap, burned walls, and, somehow, a mirror that hadn't shattered. It stood upright, untouched by time, covered in ash. She used this, Ava said. They called it the reflective gateway. A tool for dream projection. We didn't understand the science. We didn't need to. We laid down in that cursed room, candles lit in the corners, breathing the sour air of the dead. One by one, we fell asleep. And one by one, we entered the hallway. Again. But this time, we were prepared. We carried pieces of ourselves. I had my grandfather's lighter, something real from the waking world. Noah brought his dog tags. Ava had a worn rosary. Lila wore her mother's ring. Anchors. Memory. Strength. Eliza stood in the center now. Not just watching, waiting. Her eyes no longer empty. They burned with purpose. She spoke in a voice layered with echoes. You came to finish what they started. We circled her. Ava whispered instructions, and we repeated them like a chant, binding words from ancient dream studies. But Eliza screamed again. This time louder. The hallway fractured. Chunks of ceiling fell away into darkness. The ground split. And we were separated, each trapped in a chamber of our own nightmare. I saw my old apartment, empty and dark, except for the flickering light of the street lamp. She was there. Closer now. Touching the walls. Whispering. You let me in. I remembered Ava's words, don't believe anything. This is her realm, but your mind is your weapon. I pulled out my grandfather's lighter and lit it. The flame flickered, tiny, but real. I held it up, and the shadows hissed, pulling back like smoke in reverse. I stepped forward, through the illusion, and broke through. Back into the hallway. Noah was there. So was Lila. But Ava. Ava was on the ground, convulsing. Eliza loomed over her, mouth open too wide, arms trembling like spider legs. I ran. I screamed Ava's name. But Eliza turned her face to me, and her face was mine. You dream of me every night, she said in my voice. You kept me alive. I lunged with the lighter, driving it into her chest. It passed through like mist, but she screamed, recoiling. Ava sat up suddenly, eyes blazing. She clutched the rosary and shouted a phrase I couldn't understand, Latin or something older. The hallway began to collapse. Eliza reached out, screeching, her form unraveling like threads in a storm. We woke up, all of us gasping on the floor of the therapy room. Morning light streamed through the cracked walls. Ava was bleeding from her nose. Lila vomited. Noah sobbed silently. But we were alive. The mirror was gone. Just ash where it once stood. And we knew, it was over. We left Greystone and never spoke of it again. Marcus was never found. No obituary. No trace. Like he'd been erased. I haven't had sleep paralysis since. No hallway. No whisper. But sometimes, in the flicker of a street lamp or the hum of a refrigerator, I swear I hear breathing. Not mine. Not anyone's. Hers. The end.